Hi book friends, I'm a Jen who reads. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. This is my mid-year freakout tag. So this month, June 2024, marks 1 year on BookTube for me, and the mid-year freakout book tag was one of the first videos that I made. My favorite types of videos to watch and to make are wrap-up videos. So at the end of the month, this is what I read in this month videos. I eat those up. And what's better than that? A video that encompasses either an entire year. So at the end of the year or the beginning of a new year, I just love all of the wrap-up videos from the entire year. And this is the mid-year freak-out book tag. So this will be questions that I will be answering about what I have read in the past 6 months. So without further ado, I have my handy dandy little notebook and let's get to answering some questions. The first question is, the best book that you have read so far in 2024. To be honest with you, when I was looking back through my Goodreads, I think I had a pretty good year. But as I was looking back, I only have given 3 books 5 stars. That doesn't mean that there aren't other books that did not get a 5 stars that did not make it onto my list. So I will be having more than one answer for some of these questions. The first book that comes to mind as the best book I've read in 2024 is Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. Number 1, I loved that it was a standalone. Number 2, I loved the character development, specifically one specific character who I went from absolutely loathing at the beginning of the book to really liking by the end of the story. Elantris was unlike any book I had ever read, and it just made me so excited to read more of Brandon Sanderson's material. Another one of my favorite books this year was actually a reread, but it had been 15 years maybe since I've read it, and that is The Queen of the Tearling. This was a book club pick for my Discord book club, which if you're interested, I will have the link below. This book is so fast-paced. It is so interesting. It kept my attention. And every time I thought I knew what was going on, I realized I was really mistaken. I was wrong. I have never read a fantasy book that had as many reveals and twists as this one had that I did not see coming at all. And my last favorite book is one that I read recently. It was an Allie Hazelwood, and it was her first young adult romance, Check and Mate. I gave this one 5 stars. Going into it, I did not think I was going to give it 5 stars because it's about chess, and I don't even know how to play chess. But what really sealed the deal and gave it 5 stars for me was the female main character and how hilarious she was. The banter that she had, the witty comebacks that she had, the hilarious inner monologue that this character had literally had me laughing out loud, and I absolutely loved it. I do have another book that was one of my favorites of the year, but it will fall into some of the other categories on this list, so I will wait to talk about that one. Best sequel that I read in 2024. I really did not read that many sequels, so I already mentioned Queen of the Tearling. So the sequel to that one is Invasion of the Tearling. And in this one, there are some flashbacks to another time period. And over the course of the book, you see these 2 time periods converging and you see what they have in common until they just hit so hard. I just couldn't believe what I was reading. The next question is a book that made you cry, and books don't really make me cry. I don't think I've ever cried in a book over a death of a character. If I do cry, it is usually at the end, maybe in an epilogue where everything is being tied together or where it tells what the characters are up to so many years down the road. The one that I read that made me kind of cry, it made me tear up. I didn't boohoo cry, but I teared up. And that was The Invasion of the Tearling. At the very end, we find out that there are some people who we going to be able to meet hopefully in later books, and that just was really, really emotional for me. All right, the next question is a new release that you have not read yet. So I have a list of this one. The first one is the only Allie Hazelwood book that I have not read, and that is Not in Love. Everything I've read by her is 5 stars, so I'm really looking forward to that one. The next one is The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I have a ways to go before I complete Christina Lauren's backlist, but I'm working on it. And this is the newest one that was released by them, so I can't wait to pick that one up. The next one is one that I've heard very mixed reviews about. In fact, one of the booktubers whose opinions I value the most, which is Heather at Books and Heather, she DNF'd this book. And so I really don't know what to think about it, but I still want to give it a try. And that is How to Become a Dark Lord or Die Trying by Django Wexler. I think that this just looks like something that is not like anything that I usually read or have ever read. And I'm just really excited to pick it up and form my own opinions on it. And the last one is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I've just heard a lot of really good things about it. I did purchase it a while ago and it's still on my shelf. And hopefully it will make it onto a TBR in the future. Anticipated releases that I am looking forward to in the second half of 2024. The new Hunger Games book that was announced, I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it is following Haymitch and his Hunger Games trials, so I'm really, really looking forward to that one. The sequel to House on the Cerulean Sea, again, I did not remember the name of it and I did not look it up. Both of these books, my daughter is also looking forward to, so I'm either going to have to buy 2 copies or we're going to have to fight over who reads them first. And then the last one is the newest Carissa Broadbent book, Songbird of Heart and Stone. Everything I've read by her so far is 5 stars, and I just love the way her books look. Her covers are absolutely gorgeous, and I just love to have them on my shelf. Biggest disappointments, I've had a few. One of my favorite series that I started last year was the Wayward Children series, and the latest one I read was book number 6. It was Come Tumbling Down. I have absolutely loved 5-starred every single book until we came to this one. We were following a character that we had already met before. We were in a setting that we had already been in before. And since these books are portal fantasies, there are unlimited possibilities to where we could go in these books. And so I felt that revisiting a place and a character that we have already been in their world was a little bit of a miss for me. And on top of that, the story was just sort of meh. Fortunately, though, the rest of the series has held up and it does not do anything negative on me not wanting to read the rest of the series. I will definitely be picking up the rest of the series. The next one was not only a huge disappointment, it just almost ruined an author for me. Tessa Bailey, before I had read this book, I had given her other 2 books that I read 5 stars. And then I picked up Secretly Yours, and I can't even explain how much I hated it. It is back in one of my other wrap-up videos. It really made me disappointed in her as an author. The narration in the audiobook was absolutely dreadful. I did since then read 2 other books by her because I did not want that one book to just ruin her as an author for me. And they were just okay. I will probably still read stuff by Tessa Bailey, but she's not my go-to romance author anymore. And then I had 2 DNFs so far this year. The first one is one that I've had on my shelf for a while, and so I was really excited to get to it, and then I almost immediately DNF'd it. I probably have never DNF'd a book so fast, to be honest with you. And that is How to Lose the Time War. I think that's what it's called. Or This Is How We Lose the Time War. Something like that. I started to read this book. I was so confused, so I stopped. I got on some videos, some review videos. That kind of cleared things up a little bit. So then I started to read it again from the beginning. I was still just as confused. And I just didn't want to subject myself to that. It was a short book. It was a small book. It probably wouldn't have taken me very much time to read. The amount of dread that I was experiencing when I was reading this book just did not make it a joyful experience for me, so I DNF'd it. The other one that I DNF'd was The Stolen Heir. I absolutely loved the first 3 books in the Folk of the Air series. Was really excited to pick up The Stolen Heir, and I slogged my way through half of it. And again, it was just one that did not hit for me, and so I did not want to subject myself to grief, and so I did DNF it. Biggest surprise read of the year. So I am a middle school teacher, and every year in April, Florida puts out a list of books that will be the Sunshine State readers for the next school year. And so when that happens, I immediately go out and purchase all of those books for my shelves for the next year. And then throughout the summer, I try to read as many of those books as I can. One of the books that was on there was called Roll for Initiative. I'm a big D&D fan. I've done D&D clubs with my middle schoolers before. And so I picked this one up, and at the very beginning I was kind of hesitant because it seemed to be just about a bunch of 6th grade girls playing D&D, and that was it. So I was a little bit disappointed, but I kept reading it because it was a pretty quick read. By the end, I was crying. So I guess I lied when I said there wasn't a book that actually made me boohoo cry, because it was Roll for Initiative. I love to see my students and my children, and I just love to see kids, specifically preteens and teens, own who they are, be their own unique selves, dress how they want to dress, like what they want to like, listen to the music that they want to listen to. And that is what this book was about. This was about this group of girls who were overcoming obstacles in their personal life, and they were getting together, and they were unapologetically being themselves. And in the process, they were figuring out that they had better leadership skills than they thought that they had. They were able to stand up to bullies. They were able to stand up to family members when they thought that they were being unfair to them. So yes, I did cry at the end of this one. It was the biggest surprise. I was not expecting to love this book as much as I did. So biggest surprise, Roll for Initiative. Favorite new author. Favorite new author. So I don't really have a favorite new author. I did read a few new authors so far this year, but none of them have stuck in my mind to the point where I'm going to track their future works and go out and buy them as soon as they're released. So I would say favorite new author, I don't have one in 2024 yet. Newest fictional crush, so I don't get fictional crushes very often. Before coming into 2024, my fictional crush was Ellen Venture from the Mistborn series, and that still kind of holds true. There was not a book that I read that had a character that affected me or made me feel like Ellen Venture did. But if I had to choose, the very first book I read in 2024 was a novella by Tessa Bailey. It's on KU, and it's called Same Time Next Year. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it's not by Tessa Bailey, but I think it is by Tessa Bailey. Anyways, Sumner Mayfield, he's a hockey player, and he is from Canada, and he has to have a fake arranged marriage in order to stay in the States. That's all I'll say about that. I really do like him as a character, so if I had to choose, he would be my new book boyfriend of 2024. Is he better than Ellen Venture? Absolutely not. My favorite characters. I've had 2 favorite characters. Funny enough, they are both orange. One has orange or red hair, and the other one is orange. So my favorite human character is Nina Hill from The Bookish Life of Nina Hill. When I read this book, I said, holy cow, somebody wrote a book about me. This would be my life if I was single and didn't have kids. She loves trivia. She works in a bookstore. All she wants to do is work at her bookstore and come home and read, and then go out 1 or 2 nights a week and play trivia. And I loved that about her. But then she is faced with some obstacles. She does meet a love interest who is on an opposing trivia team. There are some family things, some family secrets that come to light that she has to deal with. And she deals with them in such a mature way, but also brings humor to the situation. And she is super honest about her shortcomings. And I absolutely love that. She does not try to change herself for anybody. So Nina Hill is one of them. And then the other one is Marcellus from Remarkably Bright Creatures. This was another 5-star read for me. I actually listened to this one on audio, and I highly recommend, if you have not listened or read this book, listen to it on audio, because the narrator, the voice of Marcellus, is so endearing and so heartwarming, and it made me just love him as a character even more. I almost cried at the end of this one, but my daughter recently listened to it on audio, and it did make her cry. So if you have not picked up Remarkably Bright Creatures, do not look at it and say, oh, it's just a book about an octopus, because it is so much more. I guess it would fall under the fantasy category, maybe because he is a talking octopus, but that is the only nugget of fantasy that we get in the whole book. It's just about relationships and friendships, and I just ate it up, and I absolutely loved Marcellus. In fact, I am working on a bookish tattoo sleeve. So far, I only have 3 of them. I recently got this one. This is my newest one. This is the lamppost from Narnia. But I think that there will be a nod to Marcellus somewhere in this sleeve in the future. And talking about Marcellus, the next question is a book that made you happy, and that was Remarkably Bright Creatures. The whole time I was listening to it, I was just smiling and I couldn't wait to listen to what was going to happen next, and I was actually pretty bummed out when this one was over. The most beautiful book that you got this year, I guess, in 2024. So this is a picture of all of the books that I've been collecting with sprayed edges. I have not read any of them yet, but I do have them all together on my shelf. And in fact, I might be going to the store to get another one today. And I am just loving this whole sprayed edges trend, especially on first edition books. It seems like I have not had any books with sprayed edges because they were always so much more expensive, and they were in the book boxes, and I don't subscribe to any book boxes. So when they started to become available locally at my bookstores, and I could just go out there and buy them for regular price, I just ate that up. I have a ton of them saved on my Amazon wish list that have not released yet. But so far in 2024, I have purchased almost every single one that has been released. So sprayed edges for the win, 2024. And looking ahead to the next 6 months of the year, books that I want to read or are high priority reads for me, that would be Outlander. I am on the last Outlander book, and I have been saying that forever because I literally read like a chapter or 2 a month. I don't want it to be over, but eventually I'm going to have to just sit down and power through it and finish it out. I think that I'll be happy when I do. I'm just really not looking forward to it ending. The other one is Priory of the Orange Tree. This one has been on my shelf forever. I know it's going to be good. I cannot wait to read it. It's just really big, and I know that it's going to be the book that's the main book that I read in the month that I read it. And since I have so many other books on my TBR to get through, it's just been sort of taking the back seat. And then the last one is sort of the same reason. I really want to start the Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson. I have a few more books to read before I get there. I am reading the books in the recommended reading order of one of my favorite booktubers, Captured by Pages. Every time I talk about him, I say his name wrong. So it's something here. This is him right here. That's him. His recommended reading order. So I do have a book or 2 left before I start the first book in the Stormlight Archives. But that is definitely a big goal of mine in 2024. So if you've made it this far, I thank you. Please leave me a emoji comment or tell me if you have read any of the books that I talked about. I would love for you to tell me if you have a BookTube as well. I would love to subscribe to you and watch all of your videos and support you. And as always, I appreciate all your supports, likes, comments, all of that good stuff. So until the next video, happy reading.